Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to dig into another fascinating topic?
Always excited to unearth some hidden gems of knowledge.
Well, today we're tackling something that's been generating a lot of buzz lately, especially with all the market uncertainty. Gold IRAs.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how gold always seems to come to the forefront when economic conditions get a little rocky.
It's like that old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough go to gold. I have to admit, I'm intrigued by the idea, but I need more than just headlines.
Absolutely. There's a whole universe of information out there.
And it can be overwhelming, especially when you're talking about something as important as your retirement savings.
Right, you don't want to mess around with that.
Exactly. So speaking of which, if anyone listening is thinking, okay, this sounds interesting, but where do I even begin?
Good question.
We've got a free checklist over at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's designed to help you navigate the process of choosing the right gold IRA company, especially for American retirees out there.
Think of it as your roadmap to a more secure retirement.
Okay, back to gold. You mentioned how it tends to shine when things get shaky. Why is that? What sets it apart from, say, stocks or bonds?
Well, gold has this intrinsic value that's, I guess you could say, independent of the traditional financial system.
Interesting.
It's a tangible asset, right? You can hold it in your hand. It's been around for thousands of years, used as currency, a store of
The
wealth.
symbol of power and prestige.
Exactly. You see it across so many different cultures.
So unlike paper money, which, let's face it, can be printed endlessly and lose its value through inflation, gold has this inherent scarcity.
Yeah, and stability. Because during times of economic turmoil, when people start losing faith in those traditional institutions, what do they turn to?
Gold.
Gold. It's a safe haven. Think about the 2008 financial crisis. The S&P 500, it tanked like 38%. But gold,
What did it do?
it went up 25%.
Wow, that's a huge difference. It's almost like gold zigged when everything else sagged.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. It can act as a counterbalance in your portfolio. When other assets are losing value, gold can help cushion the blow.
So it's not just about potential growth,
Yeah,
but also about preserving what you've already earned.
exactly. It's about building that financial fortress.
But let's be realistic, gold doesn't always go up, does it?
Of course not. No investment does. Gold is subject to market fluctuations, just like anything else.
Right.
But what sets it apart is that it's been holding its value over the long term. Gold isn't about getting rich quick. It's about that slow and steady, reliable store of value that helps you weather the ups and downs.
So we've established that gold can be a safe haven during those uncertain times,
Yeah.
and that it's got this track record of preserving wealth over time. But how does this translate to the world of IRAs? Why would you put gold in your retirement account?
That's where the tax advantages come in. With a traditional gold IRA, your investments grow tax deferred. You only pay taxes when you withdraw the money in retirement.
So it's like a tax shelter for your gold. Let it grow undisturbed.
Precisely. It can really maximize those retirement savings, especially if you anticipate being in a lower tax bracket later on.
That makes sense. But what happens when you want to access those funds? Like, what if you inherit a gold IRA?
Good question. And it brings us to RMDs, required minimum distributions. See, when you inherit a traditional IRA, the IRS requires you to withdraw a certain amount every year, and those withdrawals, they're taxed as income. Now, with gold IRAs, it's a little different.
Good.
You don't actually take physical possession of the gold. Instead, you have options like selling it to meet those RMD requirements or transferring it into an inherited IRA.
So no raiding a vault of gold bars, huh?
Not quite. It's all about understanding those specific rules for old IRAs.
Yeah.
But don't worry, there are strategies to manage those RMDs and, minimize the tax burden for your beneficiary.
Okay, good to know. This is getting into the nitty-gritty, but it sounds like it's worth exploring further.
Absolutely. And if this is starting to feel overwhelming, remember that free checklist, goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It can really help, especially for American retirees.
A good resource to have as you navigate this world. Now, let's shift gears a bit. We've been talking about gold as a safe haven, the tax advantages, but how does a gold IRA actually fit into a diversified portfolio? Should everyone just run out and put all their retirement savings into gold?
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer is, well, it depends. Think of your portfolio like a meal. You wouldn't just eat one type of food.
I'm a big fan of variety.
Same with investing. Diversification is key. Gold IRAs, they're not meant to replace your entire portfolio. They're a strategic tool.
A way to manage risk, potentially enhance your returns.
Exactly. A well-diversified portfolio, it usually includes a mix of things: stocks, bonds, real estate.
And precious metals like gold.
Right. Each asset plays a different role. Stocks, they represent growth potential.
Mhm.
Bonds, they provide stability. Real estate, tangible assets, maybe some income streams.
And gold.
Gold hedges against inflation and that market volatility. Protection for your savings.
It's like an insurance policy for your investments.
That's a great way to put it. It's about having that peace of mind.
Okay, so we've seen how gold can be a valuable part of a diversified portfolio, especially for those looking to protect what they've earned. But let's get specific. How does gold actually stack up against those other investment options? What does the data tell us?
That's where our comparison table comes in. We've got data on gold IRAs, stocks, real estate, and bonds, all in one handy place. And what's really interesting is how each option tends to attract a specific kind of investor.
Okay, I'm ready to see these numbers. What does the data say about the pros and cons of each investment type?
Well, if you're someone who loves risk and is chasing those high returns, stocks might be your thing. High growth potential, but also high volatility.
So stocks are for the thrill seekers.
You could say that. On the other hand, if you're more conservative and prioritize capital preservation, bonds might be a better fit. Less volatile than stocks, but typically lower returns.
The slow and steady wins the race approach.
Exactly. And then you have real estate, which is interesting because it's tangible. You know, it's something you can actually see and touch, and it can generate rental income, but it can also be hard to sell quickly.
Illiquid.
Yes. And real estate is also subject to market cycles.
It's not immune to downturns.
Now,
So where do gold IRAs fit into all of this? What kind of investor is drawn to a gold IRA?
gold IRAs, they tend to attract people who are looking for a balance,
Yeah.
stability and potential growth. They understand that while gold might not have those explosive returns of some stocks, it provides a level of security that's hard to find elsewhere.
It's about protecting what you've worked for.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Ensuring your financial future. And in today's world, with all the uncertainty, that peace of mind, it's priceless.
Well said. It feels like we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore. We'll be continuing this conversation in part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of gold IRAs. Stay tuned, because it's about to get really interesting.
So, we've been talking about gold as a safe haven, but I think it's helpful to ground this with some real-world examples.
Yes, so let's go back in time a little bit.
Right.
I like seeing how this stuff actually plays out.
Okay, great. So let's rewind back to the 1970s.
Okay.
The U.S. was dealing with crazy high inflation, an energy crisis, a bear market in stocks. It was a mess.
Not a good time.
No, not at all. And what happened to gold during that time? Its price went through the roof.
Really?
Record highs.
So while a lot of people were watching their investments tank, anyone who held on to gold was actually doing okay.
More than okay, they were actually seeing their wealth increase. It's a classic example of gold acting as a hedge against inflation.
Protecting your purchasing power when all else fails.
Exactly.
Okay, that's one for the history books. Any other examples of gold stepping up like that?
Oh, yeah. Fast forward to 2008,
Okay.
the financial crisis. Remember Lehman Brothers collapsing, the market crashing?
I mean, yeah, it felt like the whole system was about to implode.
A lot of people were really scared, even people who thought they had a good grasp on their finances.
Absolutely.
And in the midst of all of that, gold once again held strong.
Mm-hmm.
While the stock market was plummeting, gold prices were climbing.
Interesting.
It was a safe haven for investors who were just trying to protect what they had.
It really shows you how gold behaves differently than other things during a crisis. It's not about making a quick buck.
No, it's not.
It's about having something stable when everything else is going haywire.
Yeah, a good analogy is like an anchor in a storm.
I like that.
You ride out the waves and you come out stronger on the other side.
And that's why you're saying, especially now with all the uncertainty in the economy, a gold IRA could be such a good thing to have.
A valuable part of a diversified retirement portfolio, for sure.
Okay, so we've seen how gold has performed in the past, but how do we actually use that knowledge now?
Right.
We're looking at that comparison table earlier,
Yeah.
and I was struck by how each investment option seems to attract a certain type of person.
Yeah,
Oh.
definitely.
Can we talk about that a little more?
Sure, it all comes down to your risk tolerance and what your goals are.
Right.
So let's say you're someone who's really comfortable with risk and you're all about maximizing returns. Stocks might be your thing, high growth potential, but as we've seen, they can be super volatile.
Bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have bonds.
Right.
They're generally considered a safer bet, less volatile than stocks, so they're good for people who want to protect their capital.
But the returns aren't as high,
Exactly. It's a trade-off.
like the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah. And then there's real estate,
Okay.
which is kind of its own, it's tangible, it's an actual thing you can see and touch. And it can generate rental income, but it can be hard to sell quickly if you need the cash.
Liquid.
Right.
Mm.
And real estate is subject to those market cycles too. It's not immune to downturns.
No, it's not.
So where do gold IRAs fit in? They kind of occupy their own little space.
Okay. I'm ready for the gold IRA breakdown. What kind of investor is drawn to a gold IRA?
People who are looking for that balance of stability and growth, People who understand that gold has this history of holding its value, especially when there's inflation or market volatility. It's not about chasing those crazy returns. It's about knowing that a portion of your savings is protected.
It's about peace of mind.
Exactly. It's about building a portfolio that can weather the storms
I like that.
and achieving your long-term goals. And don't forget, even within gold IRAs, you have choices.
Oh, really?
You've got traditional gold IRAs, Roth gold IRAs. Each has different tax implications.
So it sounds like there's a lot to consider.
There is.
And it's probably a good idea to have someone guide you through it.
Absolutely.
That's where our free checklist comes in, right?
That's exactly.
The one at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
That's the one. It can be really helpful, especially for American retirees.
It's like having a map to navigate this whole world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, I'm feeling better about the whole gold in a portfolio thing, but now I'm curious about actually setting up a gold IRA.
Okay.
It seems like there are a lot of moving pieces.
You're right. There are definitely some specific steps, and it's good to understand how it all works. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down for you in a way that makes sense.
Perfect, because I'm sure our listeners are eager to learn about the nuts and bolts of it all.
Definitely. We'll cover choosing a custodian, funding your account, selecting the right types of gold.
Okay.
We'll make sure you have all the information you need.
This is getting really interesting. I'm excited to demystify this whole process.
You do. It's all about giving people the tools to take control of their financial future.
Well said, listeners. We're about to dive into the practical side of gold IRAs. Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll break down the steps involved in setting up your own gold IRA. All right, deep divers, we're back and ready to get into the nitty-gritty of setting up a gold IRA. So let's say I'm sold on the idea, I'm ready to take the plunge. Where do I even begin?
Well, the first step is choosing a custodian.
Okay, a custodian. What exactly is that in the gold IRA world?
Think of them as like the guardian of your IRA assets. It's a financial institution, could be a bank, a brokerage firm, a specialist company that holds and manages those assets for you.
Okay.
And with a gold IRA, the custodian will be the one handling the physical gold.
So no hiding gold bars under my mattress?
That's right. The IRS has rules about this.
Okay.
The gold has to be held in an approved depository.
So like Fort Knox?
Kind of. Picture a super secure, specialized storage facility just for precious metals.
Makes sense. You want to keep that gold safe. So I've got my custodian. They're taking care of the gold. What's next? How do I actually get the gold into my IRA?
That's where funding your gold IRA comes in. A couple ways you can do it. You could roll over funds from an existing retirement account, like a traditional IRA or a 401k.
All right.
Or you can make direct contributions to your new gold IRA.
So I could shift some of my existing retirement savings into gold.
Exactly. It's another way to diversify.
Interesting. Okay, so let's say my gold IRA is all set up. Funds are in there. How do I actually decide which gold to buy? Is it like ordering off a menu?
Not exactly. The IRS has guidelines about what kind of gold qualifies. It mainly comes down to purity.
Okay.
It needs to meet certain standards. So you can't just buy any random gold trinket and stick it in your IRA.
No gold souvenirs from my travels.
Not quite. It has to be what's called investment-grade gold, meaning it meets those requirements for fineness. For example, a gold bar needs to be at least 99.5% pure.
Wow. Okay, so there's definitely a quality control element here. But within those guidelines, are there options?
Yeah. You could go for gold coins, gold bars, or what are called gold rounds.
Gold rounds, what are those?
They're kind of like coins, but they're not issued by a government. They often have unique designs, which can be appealing to some investors.
Oh, so there's maybe a collector aspect to them as well.
Some people, yeah.
This seems like a good time to remind everyone about that free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. Because if I were actually going through this process, I'd want some expert guidance.
Yeah, it can be tricky navigating those IRS rules and choosing the right type of gold. It's helpful to have a gold IRA specialist in your corner.
Okay, let's talk fees. I mean, there are costs involved with setting up and maintaining a gold IRA, right?
Like any investment, there are going to be costs. Custodian fees for managing the account, storage fees for keeping the gold safe, and maybe some transaction fees when you're buying or selling.
So factor those into the equation.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's always smart to shop around, compare fees from different providers.
Make sure you're getting a good deal. As we wrap up our deep dive, I want to bring it back to the big picture. Why should someone consider a gold IRA, especially in today's world?
Well, in uncertain times, gold has this track record of holding its value right. It's a tangible asset. Unlike stocks or bonds, it can't just be printed or manipulated. It's a hedge against inflation and can help protect your wealth when markets are going crazy.
It's about having that peace of mind, knowing that part of your retirement is safe no matter what happens in the stock market or the economy.
Exactly. A gold IRA isn't about getting rich quickly. It's a long-term strategy.
For financial security.
Yes.
And for anyone who wants to learn more, don't forget about our free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
It's packed with information to help you make smart choices about gold IRAs.
A great resource to have. Well, deep divers, we've reached the end of our journey exploring gold IRAs. I hope you found it as valuable as I have.
Me too. It's been great sharing all of this with you.
It's all about knowledge, right? The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time when we explore another fascinating topic. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving.